Free Japan Channel number 126. Today, October 27th, Monday. The time is 7 p.m., so Monday evening. Good evening, everybody. How are you? Autumn evening. Here is a very good season in Yokohama. Tonight's topic is Middle East. Gaza war will not end. This is the topic of tonight. US President Trump said that ceasefire would be soon in Gaza, which means Israel would agree to the peace negotiation to Hamas, and Hamas also accepted. This is a very good news, but I don't think that this ceasefire will be realized so easily, or rather, perhaps this is only the assertion of Donald Trump, and Gaza war will continue from now on. Unfortunately, this is my opinion. The war between Israel and other Arabian countries were waged 4 times until now. At first, 1948. This time, Israel, the country itself, was established after the victory of the war against other surrounding Arabian countries. Looking back, this time, 1948, this time was maybe the most promising war for Arabian countries, because Israel army or troops were not so good equipped, because there was no Israel country at all. And surrounding countries were already established countries. Therefore, they were very superior militarily to Israel at that time, 1948. However, Arabian countries could not fight against Israel coordinately, so they only haphazardly fought against Israel at that time. Therefore, Israel took advantage of this discrepancy among Arabian countries, and Israel people managed to win the war. After that, the second war was 1956. This time, Suez turmoil, Suez riot, and 1967, Six-Day War. This time, Israel overwhelmingly defeated Egypt, and after that, Egypt could not declare some hostility to Israel anymore. So, thoroughly did Israel army and air force collapsed Egyptian bases in 1967. The fourth war was 1976. This was a fourth war, and Israel also defeated Arabian countries. And after that, the official war, so-called official war, did not happen. Only civilian riot against Israel. Hamas was in the course of this civilian riot against Israel established. It was 1980 or so. Therefore, Hamas has already its own history of 40 years or 50 years. Israel Prime Minister Netanyahu regards Hamas as proxy of Iran. Therefore, Iran is in fact the main enemy for Israel, and Hamas or Hezbollah or Houthi. These groups were only proxies of Iran. However, even if they were proxies, they fought against Israel in the front line, and Israel now faces these so-called proxies. Hamas has still keeps its hostage, Israel hostage, whom they detained on October 7th, 2023, therefore 2 years ago. Since then, these Israel hostages have been kept by Hamas. So they were captive. They are captive still now. And of course, Israel government require Hamas to return these hostages completely. And to this demand, Hamas did not answer yet. In this situation, US President Donald Trump declared the ceasefire, which I can't consent to, because Hamas has still good reason to fight against Israel and even against the United States. The deaths of Gaza, so on the side of Palestinians, amounted to more than 60,000 people, and there were no decent buildings in Gaza, so everything was destroyed by the air raid or military attack on the ground by Israel Defense Force. And the victims are Palestinians, civilians, and they of course have accumulated the hatred against Israel and Israeli people. And some young people among them will be the soldiers against Israel. So from their perspective, these young men are sacred soldiers who wage the jihad, sacred battle against enemies. They expect to protect the Islamic country, or Islamic law, or Islamic tradition. The battle or conflict between Israel and Palestinians will never end, in my opinion. This kind of conflict will not be eradicated as long as Palestinians are there in Gaza Strip. Of course, it is unrealistic, but if we transfer these Palestinians, so 2 million people maybe, to other places, then the conflict between Israel and Palestinians will end, so physically. However, this is totally unrealistic. Not only Hamas, but also the Palestinians in Gaza will not agree to such a proposal. Then, as long as Palestinians are there, so Israel is a neighbor country, this kind of conflict will also last from now on. This is a very pessimistic viewpoint. I have to admit that, but looking at the situation and history of that part of the world, so Middle East, we have no choice but to be pessimistic, don't we? Gaza war does not end. This is my opinion. in spite of Mr. Trump's declaration of ceasefire. Which is true? The real ceasefire or continuation of the war remains to be seen. Thank you.